And then I can officially, let's see, I'm going to spotlight myself, which feels kind of silly considering this amazing group we have here. But I'm going to unspotlight myself here in a moment. Tim, where are you? There you are.
I'm over here somewhere.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say greetings. It is Thursday, March 24th. Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Briefing. It's a special edition. We're going to actually be here for almost an hour. So, Tim, say hello. Tell everyone what the heck the Weekly Briefing is and what today's conversation is going to be, because I want to get right into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it. We have RevCommunity, which is an online community where business owners can share and understand ideas. And I'm a big fan of the community, which means I read the message boards and participate in conversations. This whole weekly briefing comes from the idea of just working with that community, finding ideas and topics and bringing them forward. So we love this moment every week where we say, what are we going to talk about this week? And recently it was Shawna that inspired us, really just looking in the lady bosses conversation and understanding. I think, Shawna, your first question to us that you put out there was, you recognize there were only a small group of women participating in the Rev community and wondering how many other ladies are out there. But really this open conversation of what is business ownership and how do we step into that kind of authoritative role is where our email went back and forth. So it's been great to collaborate with you for the last week or so on this topic. And then Joel and I realized, you know what, maybe we should just do a takeover and just step back and let Shawna take over and really run this thing. You get the sense of what it's about and things you wanted to share. So this is the Shawna Takeover Show.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me and all these wonderful leaders that I brought along with me.
Well, here's what we're going to do, Shawna. I'm going to pass the torch to you. I'm going to spotlight your illustrious panel of fellow owners and peers. And Tim and I are going to sort of sit in the background. We're happy to jump in if needed. But we're very excited just to hear you talk about this topic and discuss it with these real industry rock stars, frankly, in this conversation today. So with that, I'm going to unspotlight moi, as well as my colleague, and you can take it away as I bring in all of these awesome creative entrepreneurs. Take it away, Shawna.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, yep. So my name's Shawna Schultz, and I'm the co-founder of Mass Effects Media, which is a motion design and VFX shop that specializes in nonfiction films and series. So I have the honor of chatting with these four amazing leaders in the creative industry and talking specifically today about confidence. Basically, how do you take what's yours in your own business? I had a fortune cookie the other day and it said, confidence is not something you have, it's something you are. And I was like, oh, I like that. I'm just like, okay, like, what does that really mean? And in my early days of running Mass Effects, we've been in business 11 years this month. I was just always waiting for permission from everybody, from my clients, from my team, of just like, what are the rules of this? What am I allowed to do? And I think, Joel, early, I reached out to you of just like, how do I run this company? I did a jump start, which was amazing. And one of the things that I got out of that, like I said, I think in many times when I'm out there evangelizing for RevThink is just the confidence. Like, it gave me confidence to say, no, like we're professionals. This is the way we work. Here are our rates. And like, we can go out and really take what's ours of just like what we can expect. And I think that was a really cool thing, but it took a transition. And I think I've every stage of your business, you go through a confidence check in a way. And so today I thought, that would be a fun thing to discuss here of just like when we're talking about this of like, take what's yours, what does this mean for you? And so I'd love to start out with this for anyone who wants to start of just when we're talking about that in your story, what does it mean for you to kind of take what's yours and take over that ownership? And Erin, you kind of chimed in early. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I have no problem. It's just my bird. That was my weird pandemic situation that I got into. All of a sudden started going bananas in the background. I just like invested a lot in wallpaper and there were a lot of birds on the wallpaper, and then all of a sudden I was like, I kind of want a bird. So that was what happened here in this household. Yeah, so the take what's yours, what does that mean for me? I think, you know, to your point, like ownership, like I always knew I owned this company, this was my company, but like there came a point where like I actually took ownership. I stopped asking permission to do things. I started making like decisions on my own terms. So like, okay, if somebody disagrees with me, like at the end of the day, somebody needed to be the decider. And it was like there was a day like I realized that, like, oh, I have to be the decider. Like that's my job here. And actually, like my lawyer early on said something, you know, not making a decision is a decision, and it's the worst decision you can possibly make. Like, even if you make the wrong decision, at least like you made a decision and then you pay for it and move on. You know what I mean? But like you pay greater if you kind of stay in this place of fear and anxiety. You know, I do think like we all go through situations where we are challenged by people as if you are not the decider. And that's kind of what throws you. And that's like, there's a little bit of the mansplaining. There's a little step of people over, like they know better than you. Like the real reality for me that I've learned is like everybody can come to the table with a voice and an opinion and to present their case. But like the end of the day, it's my ass on the line. It's my house on the line. It's my reputation on the line. So like, I'm the decider.
I will 100% agree and piggyback on that. I think that would have been my answer as well.
Take it.
Is that I look at from being a live action director is that at the end of the day, you have to make these quick decisions, and you've got your crew, your clients, your actors all looking at you, and you have to make the decision. It falls on you. And I carry that over into my leadership of this company, and I think that is really at the core of how I did find my confidence and what it means to take what's yours as well. So
yeah, and that's a really great example, being a live action director, because in that moment, like you just feel the money being spent and they are looking at you like you are the person we hired to decide everything. So like you can prepare all you want, but on the day when things are happening, like decisions have to be made, and it's you that's going to make them, you know.
Absolutely. And it can break. So yeah, having that experience over and over again definitely built up my confidence to feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. They're coming to me for that skill, and that is at the core.
So I have a unique perspective. I started my studio February of 2020. So 6 weeks into it, pandemic happened, and I think it was almost out of necessity, the confidence. It was sink or swim time, and there wasn't time to, you know, kind of think about these decisions over and over again. Like I had, you know, families depending on me to move things forward. So now 2 years into it, I'm kind of looking back like, you know, what the hell was that? But I think, you know, we had the right foundation and made it through. So now it's kind of like we can tackle anything.
Yeah, I think for us, the pandemic was really very educational. And so I think my perspective now is not even so much take what's yours, but it's kind of like learn what's yours. And I think the big thing that I learned is that I don't have to be like the design firm that everyone will choose. Like, I don't have to please everyone. I really need to look at the clients and see if they are a good fit for us, because when they're not, it's a nightmare scenario. And when it is good, it's really great. And so I think my biggest learning of the last 2 years has really been to almost sit back and not try so hard, and to be able to have the people who want to be our client sort of tell us why they want to work with us. And actually I've started to find a little bit of a niche where my clients of late have been primarily women who've gotten mansplained by some very aggressive agency owner. And then I just talk to them like a human being. And then we have a conversation. And then they're like, okay, now can you tell me what this is going to cost? I think I really want to work with you. So it's really been such a transformation. And, but I mean, I've been in business for over 20 years, and I will tell you that I would be like the little engine that could. I would go after everything. I would try the hardest. I would put the most time into the proposal. I would do everything I could to win, and I'd get my heart broken like 9 times out of 10. And now I'm like, you know what? You can come to me. And it's just a totally different perspective, and it's just not as painful.
Yeah, and I think that's a really unique like the piece of that confidence, is to say it's the confidence to be rejected or to get the no and be like, it's okay, because it turns out that wasn't the right fit. How do you learn that? And how did you find that, like in your journey as a leader? How did you find that to be able to get to that point?
I think for me, it was just after a while, I think I had my heart really broken by a potential client just before the shutdown happened with the pandemic, where we were supposed to be the third firm that pitched this very big global law firm. And then we were told the day before that they had decided they'd already met 2 agencies. They were not going to meet a third. And that was that. And we had worked so hard on putting together our pitch. And at that point, I think I was just so frustrated and so angry. And it was sort of, in one sense, circumstances had taken things away, out of our control, because companies didn't want other people to come into their offices to pitch because of the pandemic. But at the same time, I knew who the other people were who were pitching, and they were much bigger firms. And I was really so upset that we didn't even get the opportunity to pitch. And I think it just was like so heartbreaking that at that point I had just said, okay, you know what? I can't put myself through this anymore. I just have to say, you know what? We're not going to be right for everybody. And then of course it was probably many conversations with somebody like Joel, who I probably spoke to him about this, and he probably reeled me off like the ledge where I was about to jump. And it's, I think it's one of those things that you reach a certain point where you've tried so hard. And then, it's sort of in a weird way, like your relationships with people, like after a while, you just start to realize that you just can't please everybody. And that you reach that point where you just say, you know what? There's some people that really love us and other people who never will. And there's no way that we're not going to change their mind. It's just like, if you meet someone and they just go, well, you know what, I just don't like women who have 2 eyes, that's it, and, it's like, you can't, it's just, there's certain things that you can't overcome. And I think maybe it's just getting older has really helped me to level out on all of that. But I think it was just having my heart broken too many times.
I think that is so crucial and so true, Lynda. I mean, experience has also taught me that there are so many things beyond our control that you just can't, you can't be responsible for them, and you can't put them on yourself. It shouldn't rock your confidence. Like the last week's topic from Joel and Tim, sometimes what the client is thinking has nothing to do with you. You can't take everything personal. There's so many things beyond your control that you just can't let that shake your confidence. And learning that some firms, some clients aren't the right fit. So why go through that pain and then getting your heart broken when in the end it really didn't benefit you, it didn't benefit your team, it didn't benefit your future. So just being able to say like, okay, I'm okay with that. There are many reasons beyond my control. Experience has taught me that it's not going to shake my confidence. We're going to dust it off and move on and search for a better fit, I think is a really great lesson.
Yeah, I think maybe this is toxic in my personal life, but in business, it served me really well. This idea is that it's not me, it's them. I've had that like my whole life, like, oh, that's not my problem. That's their problem that they didn't go with us, and that's like really served me well. Also, what served me well is because you never know what the factors of their decision are. It could be that they just have a relationship with somebody already. You know, it could be a one-eyed woman. It could be anything, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know. So likely the reason that you're not getting the gig has nothing to do with you. It has to do with circumstances completely outside of you that probably don't even really have much to do with the work, right? Like at the end of the day. So like, then I kind of go back to like, it's a business. Let's look at the numbers. Let's see if it's really our problem that we're doing something wrong with pitches. Like, what is our win rate? What is like going and just looking at that. So like, I've kind of pushed my team lately to kind of develop a system where we really can look at the numbers, like not just like ephemerally, because we did have a system of tracking, but like much more tangibly. So, I mean, it sucks for my artists because they're doing like more regimented timesheets and things like that. But like, you know, that's important for us to be able to follow, to see like what we're putting into things and what we're actually getting out of things. So I think like, yeah, just looking at the numbers can solidify, you know.
Well, and sometimes like people just have like expectations of budget that is just so far removed from where you are. Like I had this woman that I've known for a long time, and she's suddenly like brokering for these clients, and she came to me and asked me about a website, and you know, my spidey sense was just sort of like, I better ask her about her budget. And I said to her, you know, can you tell me what your budget is? Because, you know, you're talking about a small business, and I have a feeling that it may not align very well with with our process. And she said, oh, we have $8,000 to do a website. And I said to her, well, you know, that's pretty far off where we are. And she was like, well, how much are you charging now for websites? And I said, well, we're around like $90,000 to $100,000 on, for an average website. And then it goes up from there if they need, all these other things. And then she was like, I can't believe you're like, she got really indignant. And I was like, what is it your problem?
Yeah, like,
and it
do
was
you shop at Payless, or you could buy Manolo's. Like,
exactly. I just laughed. I mean, it was probably like, I've reached this point now where I'm just like, yeah, exactly. Go buy your shoes at Payless.
Yeah, go. Like, there's also Squarespace. Do it your fucking self.
Oh, exactly.
Like, but
I love how this experience has taught you all through these examples that you can now categorize these losses as learning instead of taking it so personally as like, we're good, we're bad, what do we do? So it's always good to look at what you could have done better, but I just love how a confident person can just look at it as a learning experience and a stepping stone to the next time, to the next one.
But also, doesn't it kill you when it's another woman who says something that is like so insulting and just wants to cut you down? Like, how dare you charge so much? You're like,
yeah, like I would say, like, I don't diminish your work in life. Don't diminish mine. Like,
I'm telling you what to charge. Yeah.
Like, I can introduce you to the local university. Maybe you can get one of their kids to do it for that much. That's literally what I would have said to her. So being helpful in kind of a shitty way.
Yeah, standing up to clients is there's that like mentally healthy side of it, of like the importance of saying like, well, would you like a McDonald's hamburger or would you like a top-end steak? Like, you're shopping at the steak store right now.
Right.
For sure, like getting to that point with your confidence, I feel like I'm like an expert chameleon and maybe doing, armchair psychologist. Like, my parents got divorced. I just really young figured out wherever I was, I just figured out how to be there and become that. And I think as I grew into an adult and then as a business owner and serving clients, I would always try to like chameleon into what you wanted me to be, or, to get approval. And so like, as like finding that place to say like, well, hold on, what do I want? How do I want to actually do this? Because we'll have a client who's like, well, we're doing this graphics for the feature film and we're going to go ahead and do all the graphics for the rough cut, right? And I'm like, that's not how we work. Like, here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to do a proof of concept. We're going to do 10 before we do 100. Here's why. Like, I know this. And being able to stand up for yourself and say like, no, this is my experience and this is why we do it. But when you're earlier on in your business, even, you know, that fake it till you make it thing, I felt so often, I'm like, I don't even know what to fake. Like, what am I supposed to be like? Do you have, what do you think about that? Like, are there any good stories of like fake it till you make it? Do you feel like that's true? Is that how you get to the where you are? Is you just pretend that you're an expert and confident?
I think you have to make a like sort of like an educated guess. Like if you have a background enough to kind of get from, let's say, from point, A to point C, but you don't know how to get to D or E, you can probably find somebody that you can bring on the team to get you there. But I think if you have no knowledge, I think it's just better to just say, you know what, that's really not our, like somebody was asking me today if I could, do all this stuff with search engine optimization. I was like, no, that's not us. Like, go to somebody who does like, web marketing. That's just not our thing. And, I mean, we can do a little bit of that, but it's just like, that's really not what we want to do. And if I think back about, fake it to make it, I would say like, if I could get 80% there, I would fake it because I knew that I had a friend or a colleague who could get me the whole way. But if I really didn't know what I was doing, I'm a terrible liar. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be honest about your skills, about what your sweet spot is. But if it's a little out of your pocket, you can still shoot for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like putting myself in uncomfortable situations like this one. But I think getting out of your comfort zone and, allows you to grow. And also acknowledging that you are an expert in what we're doing. I mean, we wouldn't have our companies if we weren't an expert. So putting that out there.
Big growth moment for me was when I could finally acknowledge what I didn't know. I didn't have to, like you said, Lynda. 80%, yeah, I could probably I could find a good compliment to help me complete that. But
yeah,
okay to just say, let me think on that, or no, that's really not what we do, because it's never going to end well.
Right.
Take it too much.
Yeah, like if somebody came to me to redesign like their orange juice packaging, I'd have to be like, no.
And taking those pauses, when I first, like my natural creative process is something that I was very ashamed of early on in my career. I wasn't one of those, like, we're going to do a brainstorm and everyone's going to throw out their coolest idea and we're just going to keep one-upping, cooling each other. And it's just like, it's an improv show. And I was the worst at it. And so I was convinced early on that, well, I'm just not creative. I'm just not going to be good at this at all. And the more I sat with my process and realized, oh no, but my ideas are winning. I'm just taking time to sit with it and to really honor my process, which was like, I needed to go back and sit myself. I wasn't good in a big group at first. And so I just had to know that, okay, I'm one of those take your time, let it ruminate, let it marinate creatives. And for the longest time, I beat myself up for that. And I really thought that I was a less creative person. And at the end of the day, I was like, wait a minute, no, data is showing my ideas are making it through. It's just, I have a different process. So I wasn't like, yeah, I'm great in a brainstorm, tag me in. I was like, why don't you guys do that? And I'll do this. And then we'll all share our thoughts in a while. So just kind of honoring who you are in your process and getting to know that. So you don't have to fake it, I do think was a big learning experience for me, at least.
Yeah, no, I think it's, and I think it takes time to come to that conclusion. And like, one of the reasons that I'm just not a cool person at all. And so I have to, but it's like, I'm really comfortable working with people. So we do a lot of work with law firms and financial services, and I'm really comfortable with those people. And like, I can speak their language, I understand them, and they still need and want to have lots of, really good design. But I'm not like somebody who's going to be able to work with like a fashion company. And it's just like, I have to be who I am and not try to be somebody I'm not, because I'm never going to be the cool kid. So it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Heather and Lynda, that messaging that we get of like the you that you are is not the right thing, of like you own the company. You have gotten clients, you have found the work, you do the work that you do, and you get paid for it because they want to work with you. And I think so often we get these messages of maybe you look at the cool team that's like doing the cool thing and watch the videos of the behind the scenes, and the person's like, I don't care what the client thinks, I smack them around and they love it. You know, we're like, oh, maybe I should be more tough and assertive. And I like so many messages of just like, well, I don't see myself in a lot of these places, especially in the creative industry. Like I'm a little more subdued. I'm a little goofy. Like I like to be silly. I like to laugh. Like, is that an okay thing to be? And I think finding that actually is a fit. There are people, Lynda, like you said, that want, we're talking, you know, accounting here, and I want someone that's calm and not so cool or whatever it is. I'm not saying
that they
cool
just want, they have, they're trying to do things to be competitive as like everybody else. Like, I think one of the things that I've seen like over the years is like the industry has changed so much from when I started. And it's just like, what we do, how we act, what we deliver to people. I mean, it's not just the movement from, in my industry from print to digital, but it's just everything else that went along with it. And how, it used to be like I'd be pitching to a lot of men, and now I'm pitching to a lot of women. And it's so different. Like everything is so different. When I started in the industry, I worked in advertising, and people used to throw furniture just to be dramatic. And like, you'd never see that now. Like they get fired,
Yeah. Well, I think that perspective is good, but we're, I think, in a much better place than definitely when I started in the industry. So I feel grateful for that.
Yeah, I think like so many industries have become so much more civilized, and like just are more, at least somewhat more dignified in how they treat other people, where I think it used to be really, really bad.
And then like finding your own voice and your own perspective, this even goes into positioning potentially of just like, how do you sell yourself and your business? And then how do you stay confident in that of like, well, maybe we don't want this type of work and we're not attracting it anyway. We keep trying so hard. Where is the right me, in terms of how you represent your business? What was that like for you in your journey of really finding that? Do you feel like you found that? And, how did you get to that point? Does anyone have any stories about that?
Yeah. And I think it gets back into that, like taking control of your, the car of your company here. Because we just recently, it's not so recent anymore, but we redid our website. And as a part of that, I didn't just want to like come up with a cool new look for our website. I really wanted to look at what makes us different in the industry. What are our values? How can we use that not to just attract clients, but to also attract talent, to show our clients that we're deeper thinkers about things and that there's a process, and to give them an indication of what the process would be like if they work with us, right? Like, so all of that thinking went into what would essentially be a rebrand, but it was just like, instead of chasing like, oh, this company has a cool new website, let's do something like that. It really was more of an inward look at who we are and doing the work at that, really asking our team what makes them feel special about working here, and having those kind of values then come out of it too, so that was pretty special. And I know when attracting talent, that really seems to work. And when attracting, especially direct to brand clients, like to see that more so than agency clients. I think agency clients really just like want what's hot and sexy. Whoever did Peacemaker, get me that person. You know what I mean? Like, get her on the line, or him. Oh, she's a her. Okay, her on the line. You know what I mean? So like, but yes, but I think for brand people, they really like reading more about it and getting a sense of who you are. And now we are talking to more people than just ad people. So, yeah.
I think it's about like just really being brave enough to lean into your strengths. And, it comes back to not having to be everything to everybody, and I think that for creative people, I think we all come through, our maturation where we want to think that we can do everything. Like, oh, if you're creative, you can write a book, you can do a movie, you can do everything. But you know what? We can't. And it's just being brave enough, I think, to just say, you know what, I'm really good at this and I'm just going to do this really, really well.
Well, it's also brave enough to say a little bit of the opposite of I've always aspired to do that. And I'm going to use this trait of the thing I've been doing to evolve in that direction. So it's a yes and to what I think you're saying there.
Yeah.
Nikki being, oh, sorry, go ahead, Heather.
Say find your superpower, your thing, and really go with it. And I think being yourself and leaning into your your personal strengths, your company's personal strengths to chart your path is going to be the most natural and authentic way to succeed and position yourself for the clients that serve you, and you can serve your clients in the best way. And for me, it's consistency. I really think that that's my superpower. If you reach out for me for what I do best, I will show up for you. And I really honestly believe that if I can keep that focus and always remember that that's the North Star for me, that we will be bringing in the best work that will serve us, and then we can serve back that way. And also, Lynda, to your point of, and know when you need the help, who do you complement yourself with? I think is a big. And my friend Nancy wrote a book that had to do with all of this. Like you can't be everything. So great leaders find the holes in their skill set and fill them. And for me, it was my partner. He is the tech to my art. And so we complement each other really, really well. And I think that was something that, knowing that I have that, also gives me a lot of confidence. I don't have to be everything. I do my thing, and together we make what we are, and that's great. That's perfect.
Yeah. Someone had once told me that my superpower was trust. And I thought it was so boring. And I didn't want to, because I thought it was boring and not creative, I didn't really want to lean into it. And then after a while, I started to understand that actually trust is a really good thing. And that you win more work and make more friends just because people feel they can trust you, and it is actually a good superpower to have.
100%.
Yeah. And how about you, Nikki, for being a younger company in the sense that it's just been a couple of years here where you're at the helm, you have other partners. What has that been like to find your voice and kind of the vision within what your company is representing, and how has it morphed over time here as, going through the pandemic? I know we started, I think we met at a round table and you're like, I've been in business 2 months, and we're all like, everything's awful. And so how has that been for you?
So yes, I started with, I have 3 other partners, and, one of them, design director, creative director, copywriter. So I think, we've all kind of leaned on each other, and deferred to each other, for everybody's, expertise. So, it has been a learning curve, because oftentimes, 4 people aren't going to have the same opinions on everything. 4 people aren't going to want to target the same things. But I think, when it comes to the big picture things, we are aligned. And, to Heather's point, we've stopped going after certain lines of business. We're not really doing a lot of live action, we're more post, that's where we're experts in. Sure, we can do that other stuff, but, really kind of targeting where we shine. And I think it's paid off, so far.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Heather, sorry, did you want to say something else?
Clapping for you, Nikki. I mean, you started in the pandemic, made it through the pandemic. You should be super proud. That's very, very
Actually, I think that companies that start in a time of, I don't know, just economic distress, better word, tend to be more resourceful.
Oh, for sure.
Term.
So, and I kept telling myself, what if we had what if this was 1 year in, we had a bunch of employees?
Yeah, exactly.
although we had rented a studio, which wasn't great, but you know, it's all part of the story. We can laugh about it now.
Yeah, as we take our masks off and get
Exactly.
kind of back to the real world. Well, I know we're coming to the end here of the 45 minutes that we had. Is there any advice that you have in terms of, you know, that little imposter that sits on your shoulder and is constantly reminding you of things you can't do or the things that you aren't, even though you are? Is there any advice for kind of overcoming that and staying the leader, making those decisions, as you were saying, of we've got people here of all stages, of early in their business and long in their business. So any thoughts there?
Yeah, well, I think if somebody gives you a seat at the table, you're at the table, you know, so engage in the conversation, even if it's at first just asking questions. Like if you're at the table, like, first of all, there's no greater compliment to ask somebody a question.
Right.
You
I
know?
think
So
I tell my employees that asking a question is love. It is like
Yeah.
showing someone you really care.
yeah, and are interested in their opinion, like that's ultimately trust, right? That's the foundations of friendships and relationships and partnerships and trust. So but I would say if you're at the table, you're at the table. Like there's no imposter, you're at the table for a reason, you know, you're there.
You're at the table because they liked what you brought to the table.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And design is ultimately an opinion. There's so many designers out there, and there are some that are Payless and some that are Manolo. And people are paying you for that. So, you know, it's an opinion. Like in our, like once you get into like this like crazy motion design area and live action, you get into production value and fit and finish, but at its core, it's still an opinion, because you could, you know, staff up and find artistry and build a team around that. Like if your lead has a bad opinion or a, you know, a B or C level opinion, that's where the work is gonna be, and that's where it's gonna stay. So no matter who's executing it, I've definitely seen that happen, even at my own company with like maybe a misplaced creative director, I'm not naming names. You know what I mean? But it's like, you're just like, you have all the talent, what's going on? Like, yeah, what's happening here? So that's why I always say design is an opinion, and you're at the table to express your opinion. So give them what they paid for.
Oh, I like
And they
that.
can pay a lot, they'll respect you more, and you have to do
Yeah,
less over
absolutely.
here.
Money is respect.
Yeah.
And I also think it's important to, like, if you have people who are going to try and take you down, tear you down, just like limit your exposure to those people. Like surround yourself with people who are encouraging and caring and supportive. That's, I think, really important, because I think that that little monster that tells you you can't do something gets bigger and bigger when you have somebody around you who tells you that you can't do it. So you need to sort of push that away.
your confidence should not be tied to others' opinions. You can only control yourself. You can't control what anyone thinks of you or does. So just keep remembering that you are there for a reason. You worked hard. You have something special. So continue to curate that, continue to bring that to life, because that is your unique contribution.
I love that. How about you, Nikki?
No, we have our companies for a reason. You know, we're good at what we do. So just keep doing it. And, you know, to Erin's point, like we're in that room, let's stand on those tables.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Stand on the table, not even
If you
at it.
have
You're just
to.
like on top of it. I like that.
On top.
That's like the perfect image to end on, is just like your confidence is that you're standing on the table.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I feel like it's powerful. I love storytelling. I love this side of the creative, what we do. And this is really valuable, I think, to just hear and support each other. Because I think Lynda and Erin and Heather, you were both mentioning, like, you surround yourself with the right people who lift you up. And that's not only mentors, but also your peers and other people. And so groups like this and what we can do together is just so valuable to continue to build that.
Yeah. I think one thing that, like, just to add on that, like the thing that like could potentially hold us back is when there is somebody toxic around that is an employee that we choose to keep around.
Oh.
So like there is no talent that somebody possesses that is worth that.
Yes, absolutely.
Period. That is like the ultimate lesson that I've learned. Like I would rather pass on jobs than have people like that around. So I think that's definitely a lesson we probably all learned the hard way or will eventually learn the hard way. But if somebody's just not a right fit for you, you gotta just get rid of them.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great reminder.
There's too much talent out in the world to deal with that shit.
Well, hey, I'll jump in and say thank you so much, ladies. This has been such a great conversation. It's been an honor just to sit back and listen to your minds, to challenge each other and share your experiences. I know everyone here, if you're as grateful and thankful for them sharing their perspective, please give them a shout out, a high five, what have you. Tim, what do you have to say before we wrap this up? We'll try and get out of here at 15 before the hour.
Yeah, I love the insights. Business ownership is very difficult. You feel very vulnerable, you feel very risky, you take on other people's burdens, and you feel like you're always risking. But I know each one of you and some of your stories, and that each one of you had a chance to step up and be the person you wanted to be and truly start making your own future that way. Like you understand that perspective and can do it. And it's not just a vision of who you are as an individual, but it's what it takes to be a good business person. Like it's what it takes to get it done. So Erin, even your last comment there of like, you are making strong decisions now of the people you're going to work with and you're going to work for and how you're going to do it and the systems that you have. So proud of all of you. Thank you for giving us the honor, just sharing your thoughts and putting yourself out there today. It was an amazing conversation. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like Ryan Summers' little quote here. He said, "The golden quotes to minutes ratio is off the charts today." Well said. And I have like a page full of notes as well myself. So thank you for the gems. Well, look, Tim, you and I both are here to help support this community and these owners like we exist so that they can all thrive in not just business, but also life and career. So it's an honor for us to facilitate this conversation. Huge thanks to Shawna. I mean, this was sort of your bailiwick and your baby. So thanks for leading it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Of course.
All right. Well,
There's so much more. I think Erin's being interviewed recently or in the upcoming future here for one of our podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Much more
That's happening.
So looking forward to hearing more from you.
Coming soon. Stay tuned.
I have so much empathy for you guys because I started a little podcast. And don't worry, it's not competing. It's we're focusing on artists transitioning into the field to kind of ease them into it. And it's hard. It's super fucking hard.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah.
A lot of work. It's a ton of work, a lot of prep. And Ryan, too, Ryan Summers down there.
Yeah, Ryan's pitching it already.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work to get these things going, and building a community like this is super impressive.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm going to quote Bruce Coburn. What was it? Anything worth having doesn't come without some kind of fight. So that's my thought for the day for you ladies, but you guys have blessed us with many more gems today. So thank you everyone for being here for a present for the weekly briefing. This is that time we stop during the week and reflect and talk about what's going on. And of course, today was a really special edition. So thanks again to everyone. Thank you, Tim. We'll see everyone next week again on Thursday.
Sounds great. Have a great week.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.